I believe every elected official has an obligation to go into detail on the record, which is why I've waited for tonight, given that we can all deliberate here on the record, and we must deliberate on the record. So I just want to say that my reasoning for my vote tonight and the previous night is because if I did anything else, if I went for the HRP decision, my worry is that if I based a vote on passion or public opinion and not with a clear legal or factual basis, that vote could be overturned in the future. And I want to think about examples that I see around town or around the county or state. A recent example in the county, to me as a resident, would be Moroso Park or the Raceway. In that example in the county, I saw a groundswell of support for a position, the county voting for that position, and the prompt reversal by the magistrate. And I was shocked. I actually felt I had whiplash. The magistrate, in his 11-page summary, said the decision had no support in law, and that's important. I do not want the same surprise for residents here, which is why we can't vote for the full denial, because it doesn't have a legal or factual basis and would be overturned. The denial of a certificate to dig does not have a clear legal basis. Code section 272443 says that the board shall issue a certificate to dig, and that's legal language making something mandatory. I took note in the record of multiple times that the board's attorney and staff made this point to the board, such as on page numbers 1380, 1340, and 1185 of that record. And I'll keep it at that for now. The denial also has no clear factual basis. During the staff presentation last week, which was a 30-minute presentation, the final 5 minutes were for the justification the board provided for its determination. And in that last few minutes, the justification for denial was given, mentioning public comment given by the Seminole tribe, the American Indian movement, and even by former Mayor Karen Galanka. Looking back at the record, I found that the Seminole tribe and American Indian movement commented on preserving 4 acres and were specific on pages 1,258 and 1,265 of the record, and now on page 8 of the draft certificate to dig. Former Mayor Galanka's comments did not support the entire property either, but she did talk about the importance of the 2 archaeological sites. This is on page number 1,270. So I do not see a factual basis there as it was presented by staff. I could go into more detail, but this may be the clearest example. So it is complicated, and we do not own this property. We are not in complete control, and characterizing the board's decision as an open and shut case is not accurate and is irresponsible. Following our passions without clear legal or factual support does not survive legal challenge, which leads to fewer options and less desirable outcomes for residents.
Slavery is legal.
Please. Order.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a statement.
Go ahead.
This was supposed to be a limited hearing focused on whether or not there was sufficient evidence in the record to support HRB's decision to designate all 10 acres of the Sunny Sands parcel as archaeologically and historically significant, thereby protecting it from future development. It is unusual for council to hear an appeal of this nature with such a narrow focus. For regular items, council typically has broad discretion under the town code to consider just about any factor a council member deems important. In this regard, council is not bound by the information or options presented to it. For whatever reason, this proceeding has turned from a limited appeal into a de novo review, where the majority of this council has substituted its own judgment and substantive evaluation of the evidence for the expert opinions of HRB and the town's archaeological consultants. In doing so, the majority disregards a mountain of evidence that supports protecting the known, registered, and unknown sites on Sunny Sands. If this hearing was conducted as it was advertised, council would consider only what is within the scope of HRB's authority under the town code. In other words, if HRB did not have the authority to consider it in the first instance, then council should not introduce it on appeal and should not be relying on it in order to reach a determination in this hearing. For reasons that remain unclear to me, the majority seems to believe that HRB made an error because in their view, there is not sufficient evidence in the record to support protecting these 6 acres. The town attorney, after guiding all of the hearings, preparing the original HRB order, and deemed it to be legally sufficient. What has changed? The majority wants to protect only the known registered sites, even though HRB has the authority to protect previously unknown areas as well. The majority position also completely disregards the testimony of the Native Americans explaining the cultural and historical significance of these other acres. Why are these acres deemed less worthy than the land surrounding the Celestial Railroad? The draft order...
Order, please. I'm going to have to have you wrap up here.
No, I have
Yes.
the right at the floor, Mayor. Mayor Kuretski, do not cut me off, and I will make my complete statement. The draft order offers no explanation as to why the HRB's decision should be overturned. There is no analysis of exactly how HRB made such a glaring, reversible error. It is not clear to me if the majority fully appreciates the implications of removing the 6 acres from the protection of the archaeological and historic significance designation. By removing this designation from this portion of the Sunny Sands property, 1, these acres will be treated as regular residential commercial property that is subject to development. 2, these acres will be subject to the town's waiver and special exception processes, as well as other rules, with the potential for more intense development than perhaps originally contemplated. 3, the shoreline. The shoreline adjacent to the unprotected property would be eligible for development alone or in conjunction with a reconstruction of the boathouse. Such development would do harm to the sea grass beds and marine life located in this estuary. This would be contrary to the town's strategic initiative to protect and foster seagrass growth. I never thought that a majority of this council would take an action that adds yet another stain on the town for the mistreatment of people who once lived and thrived at Sunny Sands. The majority seems to have no issue with digging up Native American ancestral remains and relocating them adjacent to the intact mound by the existing Sunny Sands pool area. There is no regard paid to the cultural significance of where those remains were laid to rest. This is an unconscionable proposal. Each one of the 5 of us ran for office, making variations of the same pledge, that we would fight to uphold the residents' well-known desire to keep Jupiter, Jupiter. Yet when faced with the prospect of a legal fight over what all agree is one of the most significant parcels in this town, the majority backs down. At the end of the day, I sit here knowing that I will keep the promises I made to the residents of Jupiter. All the evidence needed to protect this significant property is in the record. I support the findings of the HRB and can say that I am standing behind and fulfilling what I said I was going to do. This council has one more opportunity tonight to do what is right and necessary. To do otherwise is a breach of the trust the residents of Jupiter placed in their elected representatives.
Okay, Councilor, may I give you a few moments, but we really have to.
Yeah, no, I can't really say much more than what Councilor Vice-Mayor Schneider has already said. Someone who grew up here and seeing my town, built out the way it's been built out, though most part, very well. When I look at areas like this, I really want to fight to preserve these areas. It was my promise to the voters. It's my promise to the Native Americans who were here way before us, and it would be, to me, hugely disrespectful to dig on any area around what's already been designated as historic, because if you look at the facts of how the HRB presented it, they're looking at it as there's definitely historic significance in the area surrounding this. So, I don't want to be disrespectful of the Native American ancestors by trying to dig and unearth and find artifacts or human remains or anything like that. I think it needs to just be, in my opinion, left alone. We have an opportunity to preserve this area. I hope we have an opportunity to purchase this area. There's no reason to say that we're going to claim eminent domain and not allow for anything to happen. I would like to proceed with the opportunity to purchase the area and preserve it so that it can be used as an educational place. Vice-Mayor Schneider, I thank you for your comments. I mean, they were very well thought out. I didn't prepare a statement tonight. I like to speak from the heart. And, looking at the facts that were already presented from the HRB board, I'm going with the experts on this opinion, on this situation.
Okay, returning to council, we have before us the recommended the order that we asked to be written up. Can I have a motion and a second on what we have before us?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
The motion carries 3-2.
Dig up our your ancestors. Let's do a big picture.